Hey everybody, so it has actually been quite a while since I have really thought about the way I read, the way I choose my books, and had a conversation about it with y'all. So I thought today we'd talk about my reading habits and how they've changed recently, as well as talking about 3 amazing books. So let's get started. Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. It's Russell with Ink and Paper Blog. How are you all doing today? As always, I hope you're happy, I hope you're healthy, I hope you're safe, and of course, I hope you're reading an amazing book or 2 or 3 or 4. We are going through quite a hot spell here in my neck of the woods. It has been in the high 90s for the last few days. Weirdly enough, when I walked my dogs this morning, so I walked my dogs about 4:45, 5 o'clock in the morning. It was already in the mid 60s. I took the garbage out at like 8:10. It was 81. So those of you that live in hot climates, I know you know what I'm talking about, but the house is all closed up. The air condition is blowing. And yeah, we are staying a little bit locked down. Weird to say, I know. Today I'm here to actually sort of have a chatty video and of course talk about books, but I have really been rethinking the way that I read lately. I am still very much a book person. I think I need to have the physical copy. I have struggled for years with e-readers and iPads and stuff. I can do it, but I find that I just do not retain as much information when I read in that manner as when I do reading a standard paperback or hardback book. So I don't think that that's going to change. I have always been quite the lover of audiobooks. As you know, I've talked many times on this channel how I often will listen to the audiobook while I'm reading the book if I am, trying to really focus in on it, have a lot of distractions going on, and I highly support that decision. It has worked wonders for me. I love having sort of this all-encompassing experience with the book, hearing the words, reading the page, feeling all of it, and I definitely will continue to do that. But something that I've really changed in the last couple of weeks now is I have always been a one book at a time person. I have always decided, hey, you know what? You're going to read one book at a time. You're not going to try to mix stories. I will sometimes do a book and an audiobook that are different, but rarely. And that has always been my MO. But I have found lately that what was happening to me was when I was reading a book that I was either struggling with or not 100% engaged or just, had too much going on to really dive into that text, that the book was taking me a lot longer to read and really was slowing down my process. And I thought, you know what? I started to actually think about the way that I watch television and how I often don't watch the same show over one after the other after the other. I will binge watch, don't get me wrong, the right show, but normally it's one episode and then another episode. And I thought, what keeps me engaged is the fact that I'm changing the stories. So I decided to give myself sort of this test. And I said, you know what? I sat down. For those of you that are new to my channel, I do most of my new book picking in the bathtub. I bring a whole stack of books and I usually read the first chapter, and the book that sticks with me the most is the one I choose to read. This time I brought a stack of books and I said, I'm going to take 4 of them. And I am going to see which 4 really speak to me, and then I'm going to do a rotation. Now, funny enough, I only got 3 that really sort of resonated with me, so I'm doing 3. Which, now that I look back on it, 3 is much more doable to me, and so this is now my process. Basically, I read a chapter, and then I go on to the next book, and I read a chapter, and I go on to the next book, and I read a chapter, and then I start the whole thing over. And I have even found if I'm like not really engaged with the chapter I'm in, I read a few pages, I'm allowing myself to put my bookmark in and move on, read the other books, and then come back and sort of try to re-engage with this text. It's really inspired by the Bookstagrammer Daryl. I will post his Instagram down below. He always at every night sort of posts a big stack of books that he is currently reading. I don't think that I can go in as hard as he does. He reads many, many different books at the same time. But I thought, hey, this may work for me. And it has been amazing. One, I have been really engaged in each of the stories. I have not had any problem keeping the storylines separate because I've also challenged myself to try to read 3 different types of books. So I will want to read something maybe that's, more historical fiction, something maybe that's a little more contemporary, and then maybe something that's science fiction or nonfiction or fantasy, to try to always give myself a different sort of writing style, a different sort of reading experience, to keep myself engaged. And I have to tell you, I have today to talk to you about the 3 books that I started with. I'm almost done with all of them, and it has been fantastic. So I hope that's interesting. I hope you really liked what I was talking through. I'd love to hear how you all choose your reading, how you decide if you're going to read more than 1 book or 3 books, or how you keep that going. And if you have something that's structured, I'm a very much like that type of personality that I like a format. I like a structure. So I have to do that for myself, even in my reading sometimes. So it's really worked out really, really well for me. But I'd love to hear some of your tips and tricks and how you read and what you decide to do in the comments below. So please, please share. But now let's talk about some books. So get out your pen, get out your paper, get out your Goodreads, however you keep track of your TBR. I'm telling you right now, these 3 books are fantastic. I am absolutely loving them. All very, very different and all absolutely amazing. So let's start with the first one, and that's The Colony by Audrey Magee. This is out from FSG here in the US. This is set in the summer of 1979 in a very remote island off of Ireland. We have a painter who has gone to this island where most of the community, it's a very, very small community. I think it has like 85 people that live there, but predominantly they still speak Irish. The younger children do speak some English, and one of them speaks it very, very well, but the adults there are communicate speaking Irish, and he goes there because of these amazing cliffs he wants to paint. He rents a boat and goes on this official experience, gets himself very sick. It's quite amusing. And then he arrives and he sort of starts to become part of the community as best he can with the language barrier. But he is there for the beauty. He is there for the cliffs and the beauty of the people and the animals and all of that. Well, along comes a French linguist who is writing his PhD on the language, this Irish language that this island speaks, and sort of the way that it is disappearing. He is really upset that there is this English speaker there, that he doesn't want this for him, it's almost like a test group to be contaminated with this pure English speaker. And so they're sort of at odds. The book is about also set against the backdrop of what is going on in Ireland at the time. It has these brief sort of vignettes of just some of the amazingly tragic deaths that occurred at this time, people killed in drive-by shootings and bombs and all of sort of that that's going on in Ireland at the time, is sort of set against this idea of this sort of isolated island that is being sort of taken out of its own little bubble and brought into the English world, and as it loses its own sort of language. What really is quite impressive, I should hold this book up more, I apologize, I'm so into it. What's really impressive is the stylistic choices that Audrey makes. The painter often thinks in these little bursts of images that he's catching. It's very poetic, but also very frantic at times. And when other people, like the linguists, speak, the text becomes much more almost, what is the word I'm looking for? Stream of consciousness. There's just a lot of detail, a lot of space taken away from the page with the words. which is very, very smart. I think this book is brilliant. I'm enjoying it. There's so much to unpack in it. I think it is a fantastic book if you want to do like a book club around it. I have not read anything by Audrey Magee before, but her book, The Undertaking, it says, was shortlisted for the Women's Prize, the Irish Book Award. So I need to absolutely get my hands on it because she's really quite brilliant. And this cover, let's just take a moment. So that's The Colony by Audrey Magee. I happen to know that this is out in the UK just because one of you told me you were currently reading it or listening to it. So it's out. This one's here from FSG, and it is definitely worth your time. So then I decided to go a little bit more like historical fiction, with sort of, I don't know how to explain it, but I was looking for an angle, a specific sort of like social angle or something like that. And I picked up Take My Hand by Dolen, Perkins-Valdez. This is out from Berkley here. I'm going to say this book is heart-wrenching, and a number of times I have had to stop because it has just floored me with some really tough discussion topics because, one, it's so real. Dolen, who wrote Wench, is a book I absolutely adored, has a way with just sort of like punching you in the heart. But what is the book about? The book is set also, I believe, in the same time period, early 1970s, but we're in Montgomery, Alabama. Our main character is named Sybil. She has just graduated from college and she gets a nursing job. I want to make sure I get the name of it. At the Montgomery Family Planning Clinic. And it's to help young men and women, mainly women, Black women in the South, with contraception, to keep them from getting pregnant, to help them with this, help them with family planning. Gosh, that was a tough sentence. One of the, she is assigned two young girls, one is 11 and one is 13, to go out and give them this shot that is supposed to be a, just a contraceptive, really, just, you know. And what starts to happen is some of her friend group starts to talk about how this shot may not be what she thinks it is. It may not be completely safe. And she makes some decisions and for these young girls, and she gets really involved. She winds up getting the parents, the father and the grandmother and the girls into better housing from where they are. And then something utterly tragic happens. And this book is about sterilization of poor Black women in the South by the government at many different ages. And I don't even know how to get my mind around it. All I can say is that it is really powerful. It is tragic. It is the relationship between Sybil and the two young girls. I want to say they're India and Erica, is beautifully told. The father is really trying, like, just to do what he can, but neither he nor the grandmother can read, so they're sort of coerced into signing the paperwork. It's based on a true story that Dolen researched. It is based on a real life case called Ralph versus Weinberger. And it was in 1973 in June when two sisters were sterilized without their consent in Montgomery, Alabama. And she's taken that and creating this novel. Yeah, I don't know what to say about it. It is one of those books that is breaking my heart, but with the author is such an amazing talent that there's a lot of beauty and a lot of warmth and a lot of love in this book. Yeah, I think it's absolutely brilliant. So that's Take My Hand by Dolen Perkins-Valdez, out now from Berkley Press. You can get your hands on it as we speak. The next book is, I'm trying really hard in this new way to make sure that one of the three books I read is something that's coming out in the future. I get sent a lot of ARCs. Thank you so much to the publishers. So I want to make sure that I'm trying to read one of them, at least in this rotation, and get you those books also. So I decided to go really, really sort of left field from what you have just heard about and read The Book Eaters by Sunyi Dean. This is out from Tor, and it actually comes out in August of 2022. This book is crazy, but it is such a page turner. This is one of those books that you're just sort of dived in, and in this new process that I have, sometimes it's hard for me to stop because I want to know what's going to happen. But basically, there is this construct that this alien species or these beings put these book eaters on the planet Earth. They are not human, and their job is to eat text and retain the knowledge of the text that they eat. Okay, and there are all of these families, and these families that we sort of sit with in the novel are all sort of in England, UK, all of that area. And at the heart of it is a young woman that is on the run with her son, because sometimes book eaters are actually born as mind eaters, and they actually have to devour people's minds to keep themselves alive, and they crave this hunger, and it's insatiating. Is that the right word? I'm going to keep it, but it may not be the right word. We find out that this is a very patriarchal society, the book eaters. Women are really just used as methods to have children because they are dying off. And our main character has had one child and did not want to leave it, wanted to sort of break all tradition, and now she has had a son, and she is on the run for reasons I do not want to tell you, but there is so much political intrigue, there is so much interesting world building, and all of it is set in this weird thing where we just accept that these people eat books. And, you know, these beings that put them there have never actually came back for them. I should hold the book up. I get so passionate. It is just fascinating and fun and interesting and terrifying, and it's like almost like a horror novel, but also a sci-fi novel with a touch of, like, I don't know, Bridgerton involved. Like, it is so crazy, but I'm absolutely adoring it. It is really, really fun. So that's The Book Eaters by Sunyi Dean. This is out from Tor in August 2022. I believe this is her debut novel. It is, yes. And she was born in the States, raised in Hong Kong, and now lives in Yorkshire, England. And she seems like she'd be a great person to be friends with. So I'm absolutely loving it. So one, I hope you were interested in sort of my change and my bookish change in my methods of getting things done. And I hope that all three of these books wind up on your TBR, because they are all just so good. I cannot wait. I'm very close to finishing all three of them, as you can see. And I'm absolutely loving it. So, as always, if you're a return subscriber, I could not do this without you. I thank you so very, very much. If you are new to my channel, thank you for coming by. I hope you hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, all of that fun stuff, and you stick by. You know, I talk about books. I do love to do that. Love to read, as you can see. As always, I encourage you to read globally, shop locally, and until next time, I wish you happy reading. Bye, everybody.